Greetings everybody, this is your host Sam here from the Samuel Plays Brass channel. Thanks so much for tuning in today. To all the old hats in the audience, welcome back, and to any new hats, welcome aboard. I appreciate having you here and I hope you'll stick around for the ride. Today in store for you all, I've got a review on a fun little instrument, so stay tuned to learn more about the Jupiter JCR700 Cornet. First things first, if you or your aspiring trumpet player are unfamiliar as of yet with the differences between the trumpet and the cornet, you can check out this video up in the card here and return to this one when you're done. But the main rundown is this. Although these two instruments are separate and should be considered distinct, different instruments in advanced musical settings, a lot of trumpet players will start out on the cornet simply because it is easier to hold if you are smaller or slighter of frame, as I was at that age and certainly still am. It's just a tighter wrapped version of the trumpet for the purposes of beginning band, and it can, in the right hands, have a slightly daintier and mellower sound than a trumpet, which makes it maybe less offensive on the ears. The Jupiter JCR700, much like these three cornets behind me, is an example of the UK-style configuration of the cornet, which involves this shepherd's crook, which is a wide radius bend around the end of the bell section. This makes it just a little bit more compact than the traditional American cornet, and just that little bit easier to hold if you have really short arms or small hands. And while this particular JCR700 in this video is silver-plated, you can also get these instruments in clear lacquer if the gold aesthetic is more of your vibe. In any case, it just depends on the player's preference. Silver does require a little bit more upkeep. The Jupiter JCR700 also comes with a saddle on the first slide so that you can easily tune first valve notes, and an adjustable ring on the third slide so that you can not only adjust for intonation on third valve notes, but you can also adjust for your hand position depending on the size of your hands. Now, as far as the 700 series cornet's technical specifications go, this model is a revamp of Jupiter's older JCR520 and it shares many of the same characteristics. The bore, as measured at the valve section, is 0.460 inches or a 460 bore. It's considered medium-large by most modern standards. The bell is 4.7 inches in diameter and prominently features the Jupiter logo to the side. The pistons on this instrument are hand-fitted, dual-lapped, and then coated in stainless steel for extra speed and durability. By the way, in case you were wondering, this very instrument is indeed on sale at Clearwater Music at the time of uploading this video, and if it has gone, we can certainly order more in. Visit our website or give us a call to find out more. Now, if you know me well, you'll know I have very specific standards for the sound of a cornet. These three cornets behind me all have their own unique sound, and each of them is great in their own way, otherwise I wouldn't be playing any of them. But in any case, the 700 has a really nice cornet sound. It can play very dainty if you try to. It can have sort of a cutesy sound, or if you step on the gas, it can definitely play a lot more bold. It just depends on the volume you're playing at and the approach with which you play it. For beginning band students, it's great. It's not going to have any response issues like some cornets do. It is right on the money. It's got a very wide dynamic range with an especially excellent soft side. You can really play very softly on this horn. Vibrato is very free and open. This instrument can blend with the trumpet section if you use a C-cup mouthpiece like the Jupiter 7C that will be supplied with it. Or if you plug sort of a more V-shaped mouthpiece into it, like my Yamaha 16E as I used in this video, it could also be a great horn for introductory brass band playing. The British-style brass band requires a little bit of a different sound from the cornet than most American wind bands, and so you're expected to use a little bit of a different mouthpiece. The nice thing about the Jupiter is it responds well to just about any mouthpiece, and the bottom line is it has a great and flexible cornet sound, as you'll hear in these excerpts coming up. Now, as for that bore and bell size, a lot of American cornetists, as far as I can tell, subscribe to the large bore cornet philosophy. For instance, that Vincent Bach Stradivarius 184G to my left and behind me is a 462 bore, which is considered large by most modern standards, and a lot of even student American cornets will have larger bores than that. For instance, Olds Ambassadors, Holton Collegiates, vintage ones like the Reynolds Medalist will have bore sizes ranging from 468 to 470 to 475 sometimes. Con Director cornets will also have a whopping 484 bore, and so it's tough to hear about all these bore sizes and know exactly why they exist and what they do. A lot of players will claim that they have a certain sound to them, or they project better, or respond a certain way, or that they're just easier to play altogether. My opinion on the whole mess is that I think Jupiter did a good job designing a cornet with a medium-large bore, because that medium-large bore I think helps it to play with a little bit more finesse in the softer dynamics. A lot of those large bore cornets, like the Olds Ambassador especially, are not only built like tanks, but kind of play like tanks too. And so the smaller bore of the Jupiter kind of helps to play with a little bit more subtlety, in my opinion. It also helps because of the cornet's general conical shape. The smaller bore at the valve section actually allows for a little bit more conical tubing through the bell section, which in turn mellows out and darkens out the sound and allows for a little bit more of that typical cornet response. And so, outside of the public school band system, in elementary school and junior high, I think the Jupiter really holds up well in that it has a nice cornet sound, in part thanks to that smaller bore. And so, my final verdict is that the Jupiter JCR700 easily earns the Sam seal of approval. I really enjoy playing on this instrument, although it's a student instrument and it works for beginning band really, really well. I think it also is great for the advancing trumpet student who is looking to pick up the cornet after having played trumpet for a few years, because they are different instruments, and the Jupiter 700 really is able to capitalize on that cornet sound that's distinct from the trumpet sound. As long as you find the right mouthpiece for it, I think it can work really well for introductory brass band playing, or even for wind band solos or parts that call for the cornet, which is a real thing and should be done appropriately in my opinion. So I hope you've enjoyed this review, and I hope you've learned something about the JCR700 while you're at it. Make sure to leave a like and a comment if you have, and make sure to stay tuned because August is Scholastic Brass Month on the Samuel Plays Brass channel, and we'll be seeing lots more reviews. In the meantime, consider subscribing if you have not done so already. A lot of my usual viewers are not subscribed, and like I said, there's plenty more on the way, so it'll keep you up to date. It's a small gesture with a huge impact on the channel overall, so make sure to consider doing so down below. You can check out more instrument reviews in the playlist in the card. This has been Samuel Plays Brass, once again reviewing the Jupiter JCR700, and until next time, we'll see you on the flip side.